So last night, I wrote a short email to Kyabche Ling Rinpoche, who was the Upadhyaya at my novice ordination. And I try to go see him every year, on my anniversary. It doesn't always work out, but just to thank him, for the kindness of his predecessor for giving me the ordination. And so it just, I just wanted to express that to, when you think about the value that your ordination has had for you, and like I said yesterday, I think anything good that I've managed to do in my life has come on the basis of being ordained. And, when you're ordained, it isn't just, you independent person marching in saying, I want to be ordained, here, give it to me. It's, you request and you're screened, and when you finally are able to do it, and like I said yesterday, I had to wait about 1.5 years from the initial time that I requested to the time the ordination happened. But that, when you actually are able to receive the precepts, then you really appreciate the Sangha and you appreciate the preceptor, because without the Sangha, without the preceptor, without the Acharya, there's no way to receive the precepts. There's no way you can self-create these or take them by yourself, or, you can't go out and have a demonstration and say, I want my rights, I deserve this, it's my right, give it to me. So, to really see that, how much it depends not only on the Sangha and the preceptor that are responsible for your ordination, but going back and back and back to the time of the Buddha, because everybody receives ordination from somebody else, and it all started with the Buddha. So actually, if you're tracing back causes and conditions, we have 2,500 years of them. And, it's not just the preceptor of your preceptor and the Sangha of your preceptor and the Sangha of that preceptor and so on. It's the fact that Buddhism existed in the world, because you can't have the Sangha, you can't have the ordination unless Buddhism is, there has to be more than 6 people. I guess if you had a really bad war or something, the Tibetans had to restart their lineage by asking people some monks from the Chinese tradition to come and help and give the ordination. But again, that's the kindness of all that lineage going back, that the lineage in Tibet was able to be restarted. And so you just think about your place in this long, long continuity of people who really have faith in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and whose heart resonates with the Buddha's teachings. And then you think of everything they had to go through. 2,500 years of ordained people. And it's not always smooth. Look at the political situation the Tibetans found themselves in, and what went on there. If you think about the Tang Dynasty in China, there was a big persecution at that time. So everywhere Buddhism is gone, you exist as part of society, and society is not always kind. There's wars, there's economic blow-ups, there's all sorts of things going on. And so the fact that the lineage has been able to exist this long is really due to the courage and strength of all those individuals who have been ordained, going back to the time of the Buddha. And we may have the names of the lineage people, but there's a lot more than them. And you can't be a lineage Lama unless there's a lot of followers, And so, lots of people are behind this, and we don't even know all their names, and we don't even know who they are or what went on. But our fortune at being able to receive the ordination is due to their kindness. Yeah. And so this is actually something that at the time of taking my novice ordination, I did not think about. Yeah, at the time of taking my novice ordination, well, the primary thing, one of the primary things, there was more than one, but one important thing was just trying to keep my robes on. Yeah, because you're bowing and you're standing and you're kneeling and you're wearing all this cloth, and you want to keep everything on and in the right place and fold your zen properly every time you stand up, but the lamas want you to hurry because they've been giving ordination all day and they're tired. And yeah, so I was just trying to keep my robes on, and trying to say all these things in Tibetan that I didn't understand. I understood what I felt, and Lama Zopa translated a little bit for Kyabje Ling Rinpoche about what I was going to say, but you're not taking these things in, and and I was just coming in after, my parents asking me to leave and the house, and really I was determined this is what I was going to do, and just doing it. So that was, the whole idea of dedicating my life to the Dharma was the thing that was primarily important, at that time. It was only when I took Bhikshuni ordination in Taiwan that the whole idea of all these people who came before me entered my mind, that it wasn't just, me and 400, 500 other people going to take ordination. There's this whole 2,500-year thing going on. And not only did am I indebted to all those people, whether I know who they are or not, whether even the records have their names or not, I'm indebted to them. But now I have the responsibility to pass the ordination on to other people. So it was really, for me, the Bhikshuni ordination was totally changed my Dharma practice, because it wasn't about me and my practice and my awakening and, me, except it was a Dharma me, which is a little bit better than, than the me that wanted to go lie on Huntington Beach. But, it was still, I was the center of it. And the higher ordination really made me stop and think, that I'm dependent on others, and now I have responsibility. Because this Holiness Dalai Lama is always saying, when you have a privilege, it comes with a responsibility. So having the privilege to be able to take the full ordination, then having the responsibility to do my best, certainly not perfect, but at least to try, and because it isn't about me. It's about 2,500 years in the past, and hopefully thousands and millions of years in the future. Okay? And so I'm just, kind of there, and hopefully can pass something on that is meaningful to others because it was passed on to me. So, so that's what I thought. I should have said yesterday instead of telling you stories. But anyway, I said it today. So, do you have questions today? Yeah.
So I've received that question before myself, and actually I couldn't really answer. So the question is, how do you know that the lineage is unbroken?
How do you know what?
How do you know that this lineage is unbroken? How do you know it? So other than like seeing the value myself, there's no good argument, like historically and
you
everything.
Can't prove any lineage is unbroken. I don't care what lineage it is. You can't prove it. I mean, when the Tibetans give the history of their lineage, when it goes back into India, the lineage lamas, there's like 100 or 200 years gap. Okay, so Nagarjuna lived 600 years. Now how are you going to prove that? And, was he really the preceptor of all? You can't prove any of it, as an objective thing, signed, sealed, delivered, that you're going to give to a court of law. Okay? So people talk about lineage and validity and argue, and, you can this lineage and that lineage, can you take novice ordination in this one and full ordination? And what about the bhikshunis? And they said you could only ordain once, except you can't find that anywhere in the Vinaya. The Vinaya does not say that. So where did that come from? I don't know. Okay. So you do it because you can, because it's in your heart, and you trust, because at the ordination, my feeling is, what is most important is your motivation. Yeah, it's not, can you trace it one preceptor after another, and check the purity of all the other monks or nuns who form the Sangha? Because the Sangha isn't just the preceptor. For full ordination, you need 10 people. Okay, so are you going to check, can you check the lineage of all 10 to make sure that it's totally perfect? You can't do that. So there's Sangha now that is accepted as valid in the countries where they live and where they teach, and in the traditions that they hold. So for me, that's good enough, because I can't prove the rest. Yeah. But the Tibetans consider their lineage valid, the Chinese consider theirs valid, the Vietnamese came from China, but they consider theirs valid. So that's good enough for me, because what else are you going to do? And it's really your own motivation. You could be in front of the Buddha himself repeating everything, but if your heart, if it's not in your heart, have you really even received it? Yeah. So it's you need the Sangha, but most important is your own motivation, I think. Yeah. And for me, too, there's all this talk, different lineages, blah, 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 blah. The Buddha did not, this is my personal opinion, okay? The Buddha did not teach different lineages. He did not teach Mula Sravastivada, Dharmagupta, Pali, all the other ones, with long Sanskrit names. He did not teach those. The Buddha taught Vinaya, period. All the 18 schools evolved afterwards. They are all rooted in the Buddha's teachings. So my view is we respect all of them because they all can be traced back to the Buddha's teachings. Yeah. And all these different lineages happen later. Yeah. But they all have the same root. So in my idea, if somebody made up an ordination, and there are people who do make up ordinations, and I know friends who have ordained in those made up ordinations, that's something else. In our case, trying to take it from a valid lineage, yeah. So one of the 18 schools, but of course, it depends who you ask, what are the 18 schools? There's about 4 or 5 different lists of 18. So which one are you going to follow? Yeah. So my feeling is, the Buddha taught the Vinaya. If something it goes back to the Buddha, that's good enough for me. Yeah. And they all go back to the Buddha. So this whole thing about, you were ordained in one lineage, can you do posada with people in the other lineage, So some traditions are very strict about this. The Theravada and the Tibetan traditions happen to be much stricter about this. Only do posada with people in your own lineage. The Chinese, the Vietnamese, much more accepting of Buddha Dharma as one thing. And this could be because in their traditions they had translations of many of the Vinayas from many of the different schools. Yeah. But they're quite open, when we talking with Venerable Benyon, if we go to, stay at a monastery where they're of a different lineage and they're doing posada, we can join in. There's no problem. If somebody comes here, they can join in. But then some traditions say, no, you can't do that. And the same goes in terms of ordaining in one and then taking another ordination in the other. But everybody chooses what they want to follow. And I happen to be much more broad and inclusive. And I'm always kind of was amazed when I went to Taiwan. When I would go to a monastery, immediately I was brought into the Sangha. Immediately I'm a guest. I don't speak the language. I don't know anybody. I'm a Sangha member. You sit here, you're part of the Sangha. If they receive offerings, you receive part of the offerings. It was, quite noteworthy.